We've been hearing so much about the additional direct stimulus checks, the $1,200 stimulus checks in the next HEROES Act, that another section of the HEROES Act that's equally huge hasn't received much coverage. Actually, as of the recording of this video, I was unable to find a single comprehensive source that broke down the housing portion of the HEROES Act. So if you appreciate me reading and summarizing more than 100 pages of legal documentation in order to make this video, please click that like button. I would appreciate it so much. And also, I would like to sincerely show my appreciation to each and every one of you, past 70,000 subscribers, and that is absolutely mind-blowing. I have sincere appreciation to each and every one of you. So let's get on with it. As part of the more than $3 trillion HEROES Act, we have a massive section comprised of $175 billion slotted for assistance of rents, mortgages, and to combat homelessness. The first portion calls for $100 million in funding for grants under the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. This would provide short and medium-term assistance with rent and rent-related expenses, things including tenant-paid utility costs, security and utility deposits, and a few other small costs. Basically everything included in rental costs are somehow covered under that program. And this is again to combat the risk of homelessness under these chaotic times that we're currently living in. So it goes on to define that not less than 40% of the funds are to provide assistance for individuals or families whose income don't exceed 30% of the median income of the area. And then this scales up a little bit and goes on to say not less than 70% of the funds are for those whose income don't exceed 50% of the median income for the area. And then lastly, the rest of the funds will go to those who have incomes not exceeding 80% of the median income for the area. So these funds are slotted for the people who need it the most. It's need-based. Those who need it the most get the highest proportion of the funds, which makes total sense to me. So the maximum amount of rental assistance provided would be the highest of one of these three options. Either it would be 120% of the fair market rent established by the secretary for each individual area. So this is the total amount of assistance that someone can receive in rent assistance under this program. Or it would be 120% of the small area fair market rent established by the secretary, or any higher amount that the secretary determines is applicable for that area. So we're looking at 20% more than the average rents for the fair market for the area under this program would be the maximum amount of rental assistance. So a fair amount of assistance there. Now moving on to the next portion of this fund is the Homeowner Assistance Fund. This fund would provide funding to state housing finance agencies for the purpose of preventing homeowner mortgage defaults, foreclosures, and displacements of individuals and families experiencing financial hardships after January 18th, 2020. So the total amount of funding allocated for this would be need-based on a state-by-state level, taking into consideration the number of unemployment claims in each area versus the total average unemployment claims in the country. However, each state would receive at least $250 million in funding for this program in each state. So the small states, no matter what, would receive at least $250 million in funding. The requirements for funding in each state will be determined by each state's own criteria. And I found this a little bit interesting. It's probably just because demographics and median incomes and things like that are so nuanced based on areas. You know, one area 10 miles away from another one can have a whole different income level. So that's probably why they're allowing states to have a lot of decision-making power in this. The bill outlines that each state will need to submit a proposal for requirements and criteria for people to apply for this program. They'll have to submit that to the Treasury, and then the Treasury will have to approve or deny that within 30 days. And the Treasury will have templates, it says, on basically outlines on how this program, how they're seeing that this would work, and then the states can use that to determine what exactly their criteria will be. So here's what the funds can be used for under this portion of the program. They can be used for mortgage payment assistance, including financial assistance to allow a homeowner to reinstate their mortgage or to get a more affordable mortgage payment, including principal and rate reductions. That one was a little bit surprising to me, and that's very interesting that it can be used for that. It can also be used for assistance with payment of taxes, hazard insurance, flood insurance, mortgage insurance, or homeowner association fees. So basically everything attached to a mortgage is also covered. Additionally, utility payment assistance is included in this, including electric, gas, water, and actually internet service is included in this as well. And also it states any other assistance for homeowners to prevent eviction, mortgage delinquency, or default, foreclosure, or the loss of essential utility services. So basically everything is covered, from the mortgage payment to the taxes and insurance to utilities to internet. Literally everything that it takes to pay for a mortgage or to live in a home is covered under this program. So that's really exciting for people who have no income coming in the door right now because they lost their job and absolutely need assistance. The mortgage assistance program also has some need-based stipulations, including that at least 60% of the funds for each state must go to those whose income is below 80% of the area's median income. So again, the people who need the funds the most are slotted the highest proportion of the funds, which makes total sense. The plan also outlines a plan for automatic mortgage forbearance, and this was really interesting, stating that any homeowner whose loan becomes 60 days delinquent between March 13th, 2020 and whatever date this bill is enacted, and if they have not already received mortgage forbearance, will be automatically granted a 60-day forbearance on their loan payments. So that does not necessarily mean that their loan payments will be paid for, but they'll be automatically granted that 60 days. And then on top of that, it goes on to state that additional forbearance can be requested for an additional 120 days, and then a second additional forbearance can be requested on that for a maximum of 360 days of mortgage forbearance. And then I know in the past with mortgage forbearance programs, there was a lot of concerns like, yeah, you could forbear your mortgage, but then there's going to be all these secondary side effects that just make it not even worth doing the program. So there's a couple things that outline what mortgage lenders cannot do under this as well. So it says mortgage lenders may not charge late fees, penalties, or any other charges with respect to payments on the loan that were due during the forbearance period. So there's no additional fees that can possibly add up during that period, even if it lasts up to 360 days. And also another huge portion, this was the biggest complaint in the past with mortgage forbearance, is lenders may not report negative information to any credit bureaus if you receive assistance through a mortgage forbearance program. So that's huge. If you use this program, your credit is not going to get messed up because of it. And also as part of this, there are portions slotted for if someone is receiving forbearance, then renters can't be evicted during that time. There's a few other nuances there. This bill is extremely long, so there's a lot of nuances. I'm doing the best I can to pack this into a short video. This plan also allots $2 billion in funding for Section 8 housing and provides additional assistance for more individuals to be a part of that and more housing to be created under these programs. So really, that's generally the bulk of this program and this assistance that it would potentially provide. As of right now, this is just a bill and still needs to be voted on and debated on, so we might not see exactly all these things in a bill that ends up passing. However, I haven't seen a whole lot of pushback on the housing side as far as these stimulus programs go. So what are your guys' thoughts on these rent and mortgage assistance programs? I'm really curious to see. I think this is a lot better than the cancellation of rent and mortgage program that we saw a few weeks back. It makes more sense. It's more streamlined. to have people apply and do it this way. So give me your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.